We have now a mass dissociation that was not based upon so much the breakdown of the social order, say, as Rome's fall was, and a replacement by Christianity. We certainly have that now with what I call crisis cults coming up, of all the cults and what have you, as the replace of the Christian breakdown. But what we are seeing with science and technology is far beyond where it has ever gone, because we are able to support our dissociated, disaffected abnormals where in the past we could not. They die. We have people now on the social welfare, what I call the welfare womb. I really think the welfare state has become a womb. And it's interesting to look at both the negative and the positive aspects of that, because it's an extended neoteny. We have the possibility now of people basically just staying out of the usual traditional workplace to just learn. As we know, a lot of these people now are extending college, going on and on and on, of learning. But generally they're not learning. What they're really learning is their ids of how to self-stimulate and destroy themselves. It takes a great deal of maturity to use personal freedom. I know, I destroyed myself for most of 35 years, you know, the typical drunk poet and all the rest of it. And I was as disaffiliated and everything. Gee, I sound like a born again, but the idea being is that it's very easy to be dissociated nowadays and be supported. Jam it in your arm. Have a good time. Bye-bye world. It's tough. It's really tough on young people. I think it's very difficult on them. And I think what we as adults have to do is to give our children coming up a sense of the value of life. I think we hold it very cheaply now. And I'm not meaning that from any parochial or religious viewpoint. I'm just simply saying that if the purpose of life is to continue life, which I assume for most of us it is, or else you'd be dead, that's what we should be looking to. And really what we have put our technology towards, if you look at the videos that are rampant with our young people, is basically destruction. It's incredible. I mean, when I don't have a TV, but I occasionally and it's great. Do yourselves a favor sometime. Go without TV for a couple of years, then tune back into it. It's amazing. It's incredible. I cannot believe it. I tune on and I think, this is another world. Where am I? Where have I been? It's interesting. I've gotten off the subject. Another question, sorry. Terrible mind.
I relate 2 points. As I heard them, one was you said we're born with the high temper.
That's the theory.
Then later on you said, and then scarcity, change and overcome. And then you said something about some individuals cover up and conceal this type. That sounds to me like a cop-out, that here's someone who didn't fit our rules, and therefore we'll say they're covering up that type of temperament. So
good point.
We'll just say
good point. Anything can be misused. Definitely.
So I have problems with this born with or cast in that mold. It reeks to me of original sin sort of stuff that I have a lot of problems with as well.
Right. I think a lot of people do from an ideological academic viewpoint, because we've been very influenced by the ideologies that go down. The West, let me rephrase it. I agree with you that things can be misused. What I think is perhaps what I'm trying to get at and what Type and Temperament is trying to get at, a guy called Jerome Kagan, who's one of the best child psychologists in the United States, certainly one of the most prolific, recently came out with a book on temperament, and he's been doing research, hard physiological data research, not ideological research on children for about 25 years. They definitely find absolute born patterns in individual infants from the time they come out. Now ask any parent, have you children? If you have children, you will know, I mean every parent I've talked to, and I've experienced the same thing because I have two, know that the kids are absolutely different from the day they pop out. Man, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just like the feminists tried to inculcate no boys' toys and it didn't work. The boys just gravitated to the boys' toys, the girls went to the dolls. I mean, what can you do? It's born that way. Now, you can put it in a Procrustean bread and tear off the limbs and make it fit, or you can recognize reality and deal with it. That's your choice. Anything else? I don't know if that answered you, but I think I agree with you that anything can be misused. And if by saying original sin, yes, it can be. But there's a big difference between ideological original sin and the fact that you are born with a particular personality type that Kagan has called inhibited versus uninhibited. Now, the proof is there physiologically. It has nothing to do with how you want it to be. It reads out physiologically. There's nothing interfering in the way of ideology with the data. It's real. It exists. They're different. To misuse that, however, is another thing. And I would quite agree with you if it is misused. Does that in any way?
How does it extend that then? That maybe my problem is with the way these indicators are used. That I said this to a group of other people. We have an action learning team. And one tool that we used, I got the impression that the sort of words that we used in one part of the circle were nice, warm, positive sort of ones, probably because the person who designed it was up there. And the ones down here were negative.
Well, that's...
It's given to those sorts of things, the ones I perceive as positive.
Well,
And that's
yeah.
the person who gave it to them. Some of these Myers-Briggs and other tools, I find some of those terms that are given to these types, some are
Biased.
positive.
Actually, I find that the Myers-Briggs type indicator is really pretty ideologically neutral. In fact, it, to me, as an NT and a bit of a cynic, it just smacks of flowers. I mean, it's trying to be nice to everyone. It's an incredibly nice thing. I mean, if you know the history of the inventor of it, she was a nice person, really nice. And it's typical. I'm an INTJ, and I had one in one of my courses recently, and we had an NF. I'm talking type terms. An NF is a feeler, right? An NT is sort of the same. And she said to me, or this NF, don't you ever feel angry at anyone? To an NT, it's terrible that these people are happy. God, where are they? Why don't they realize the real world? So, but I do not think, in all honesty, from my perspective of looking at type and temperament, of the basic manuals themselves and gifts differing, she's very careful. She's an NF herself. And she's very careful of hurting people's feelings. One of the things I have really learned, I think, from type is that I used to be a real bastard. I mean, I was hard to get along with. I'm still hard to get along with, but I'm a little easier. I really do appreciate things that I did not appreciate previously. Feelers were something I had no time for. I can't appreciate them now. I may not agree with them, but I do appreciate them, and the older I get, the more I appreciate them. Very definitely. So, I don't know if that puts anything into a perspective for you. Any other questions? By the way, yep, go ahead.
So we basically like one of 4 types, and then as we grow we develop temperaments of these types? Or?
No, the theory is that the temperaments are just 4 classifications. The types are 16. So they're just a different look at the same thing. The 16 are dividing it out a little finer focus. The 4 temperaments are a little grosser. So whatever you're born with is what you are. Now, it's difficult sometimes. I have had people take several months to verify their own type or temperament. Now, one of the cardinal sins for an MBTI person, a presenter, is to say to that person, this is your type because you've scored this way. It's not that. They verify it. And I have found every person sooner or later comes to verify it. Or not, but they will find their own. And usually the accuracy of the indicator in indicating to the person the type that they agree with is about 80%, which is not bad. So you have to verify it. It's not telling you anything. It's not trying to ram anything down your throat. It is incredibly useful. It is so useful for relationships. Like with my wife, she's an INTP. P's and J's are as different as, what is it, chalk and cheese? Or what do you, I don't know what you say in Australia, but anyway, just absolutely different. I mean, I'm a yacker because I'm an extroverted thinker. I love yakking. And she will come home from her office and she just wants quiet. She'll say, I'll shut up, but it used to be that before I really understood that, I could get hurt from that. She doesn't like me. Not that she doesn't like me, it's that she needs some peace and quiet, you jerk, just quit foaming. And I have a difficult time, if I don't talk a little bit every day, it builds up. So beware of me if I haven't talked for a while. It's terrible. Anyway, okay. Any other questions? I think you all have to go anyway, don't you? It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.